Two guys either side of 50 with one dream to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Missing Links Golf Show. I am Steve Hinks, joined for the 19th time by Andy Walker. Andy Walker, welcome back yet again. Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hinks. How are you on this fine evening?
Mate, I'm good. I'm good. I've got to admit, I'm kind of still recovering a little bit from last week's episode. Just
Mm,
the absolute fountain of wisdom that was showered down upon us by the great Josh Nichols,
yes.
which we will get to in a moment to unpack a bit. But yeah, I think I feel like my eyes have been opened.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I have listened to the episode a couple of times now, so just trying to absorb and to extract as much as I possibly can
Mm.
out of Josh, and the advice that he gave us is, yeah, there's a lot there. I think that won't be the last time that I listen to it. It'll be a few times more that I'll have to go back and re-listen just to try and get as much as I can.
Yeah, there was a lot there. There was a lot there. There was a lot of good chats, a lot of good thoughts, a lot of good ideas. But we'll get to that in just a moment because
Mm.
Andy Walker, as per normal, we do like to start the show with the voice of our listeners. It's
Yes,
always
we do.
nice to share some feedback about what's been going on in the world of the missing linkses. I mean, actually, that's a good question. Our listeners, what do we call them? Are they missing linkses? I think we've kind of traditionally gone with that. Or are they searchers? Are they searching for the missing links?
Well, are they pilgrims for the missing
Oh,
links? What do you think of
pilgrims.
pilgrims? Yeah.
Hey, pilgrim. Um, My apologies to anyone that I may have offended by that very ordinary impersonation of, I think it was John Wayne, actually, that was
Mm.
from back in one of those classic Westerns. Pilgrims, I kind of
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're all on a golfing pilgrimage, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose we are.
Yeah. I mean,
So
Josh liked that last week. He
he
quite
did.
enjoyed the pilgrimage.
Yeah, he did. He had no idea why we used that word, but I think he kind of went, yeah, that's actually quite cool. Pilgrims, I kind of like that. Yeah. So to all you pilgrims out there, welcome to the Missing Links Golf Show. This has taken a life of its own very early
Yeah.
on. I like it.
As it usually does. You know, let's
Yeah,
let's let's face it.
yeah. That's a fact. Speaking of pilgrims, though, let's the voice of the pilgrims is here. It's alive and well. So there's a story I want to share with you because this one I loved when I heard this. Over the weekend I had a phone call from a very good friend of the
Mm.
Missing Links Golf Show, contestant at the Missing Links Masters back in November of last year as well. And he relayed a story to me that happened recently to him. So
Yeah, right.
he was embarking on a bit of, I think it was mountain biking actually, a bit of a
Yep.
cycling adventure in the Blue Mountains. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't necessarily recommend that you go out there and engage in such a dangerous pursuit. You'd hate to do an injury to affect your golf, but to those of you that enjoy a bit of mountain biking, good on you. Yeah. Anyway, whilst on this adventure, he met another person, member of the group. I don't know if they knew each other that well
Mm.
in the lead up to it, but they got chatting. Andy Walker, they got talking about their backgrounds, their interests, and all sorts
Oh
of
yeah.
things, and
Mm.
the topic of golf came up.
Mm.
So
Well, it's a pretty common
during,
sport, at
well,
the
it
end of the day.
is.
I think it's like the second or third most played sport in the country. So you would think that,
Mm,
if you're with another group of blokes, that at least one of them would play golf.
you'd think so. You'd think so. So, and this happened. So they got chatting. Very good friend of the show, and other person who, for the purposes of the story, we'll call Damo, because I feel like that might have been his name.
Yep.
Couldn't be. And apologies, Damo, if Damo is not your name. But we believe it is. So Damo found out that there was a mutual interest in golf, and was saying, "Oh, if you're into golf, you got to check out this podcast that I've been listening to. It's these two, and this is where I got a bit upset. It's these two
Yeah.
old blokes.
Yeah.
Damo,
Okay.
come on, Damo. Seriously, have a look at yourself. We're not old blokes.
So,
I'm
so
not even 50 yet, for God's sake.
because I honestly thought that you were going to start talking about us then for a moment, but now like
Well, it could be
I
a different show. Could
yeah,
be a different show. But anyway, he says that there's two blokes. Maybe he said there's these two young blokes
yeah,
who don't sound as
yeah,
old as what they're saying they
yeah,
are.
youngish blokes.
Yeah, and they're talking about um, trying to get onto the seniors tour and play some senior amateur events. And they were talking about going to Mudgee and playing in the Missing Links Masters and all this
Yep.
sort of stuff. And in Damo's words, fantastic show, best podcast in the history of golf podcasting.
Wow.
Okay, maybe I've embellished a little bit, but you should get on board. And he's saying you should get on board. Now, amazingly, at this point, friend of the show, Mickey Belafonte, said, well, not only do I listen to the show, um, but I'm mates with those blokes, and I
Mm.
was in Mudgee
Yeah,
competing
yeah.
in the Missing Links Masters.
Nice. How'd that go down?
Well, what it did, and I like this part of the story, is it meant that Mickey actually had to confess that he was the player who was described as that his swing was verging on criminal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, Sandy Wedge had given him a touch up, but I love that story because we've come full circle. We've now got new listeners, new
Mm.
pilgrims, um, recommending the pilgrimage to existing pilgrims.
I like it. I like it. Now that's, you know you're getting places when you've got people who you actually don't know recommending your show to people that you do know. Now, I mean, look, and I think we've sort of covered this a few times in our pilgrimage that yeah, we've come a lot further than what we thought we would get. I think when we started this pilgrimage, we thought maybe we'd get just a few mates and
True.
family,
This is true.
listening to the show, but yeah, it's starting to build and get a life of its own.
Not only have we come a lot further than we thought we would, I think we've gone a lot further than we thought we would,
Yes.
Andy Walker. We've also got a new pilgrim, apparently, could be more than one, I don't know, who's joined the show from Hawaii.
Wow.
Um, so, aloha
Mm,
to all you Hawaiian pilgrims out there. It's great to have you on
mm.
board.
Yeah. Never been to Hawaii. That's one place I actually would like to go. My folks have been there and they said it's pretty amazing. But I've never actually got to Hawaii. It's yeah, certainly on the bucket list.
I've been to Hawaii.
Mm.
The year was 1990.
Wow.
Mm,
That's a few years back.
a couple of years ago. May have changed a bit by now. Um, it's just a
Maybe.
bit of, it was about a
Mm.
48-hour stopover on the way back to Australia from a cricket tour to England.
Yeah, right.
Um, that is a story for another day. But
Via Hawaii. Really?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
Cheap
that's
tickets, mate.
that's
we the school
God.
tour.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
went via the
yeah,
US
yeah,
because we were flying Continental Airlines
yeah.
at the time. I don't know. Are they still even flying? I'm not even
Oh,
sure. I
yeah, I'm
haven't
not
heard of
sure.
them for a long time.
Mm.
Yeah, it was great. We went. This is the long way to England. We flew Sydney,
For sure.
flew Sydney to Hawaii,
Yep.
Hawaii to LA, LA to Houston. I think it was Houston,
Wow.
and then to London.
Wow.
And then on the way back, we flew London to New York, New York to Orlando. Did Orlando and Florida for a couple of days. Orlando to LA to Hawaii, and then back to Sydney.
Yeah, right. So what was the flight time then from
About 35 days.
because I went to Japan, when was it, in year 2000, I think, and I flew Sydney to Melbourne, Melbourne to Kuala Lumpur, Kuala Lumpur to Japan, and yeah, I thought that was almost 24 hours, and I thought that was
The
a
Sydney to Melbourne leg's a killer on that because you got to fly back over your own head.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it
It's
was
outrageous.
that was pretty full on, but I think yours takes the cake.
Yeah, I mean, it was a school tour, so I think there were potentially sponsorship deals and those sorts of things at play. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
really know. I was much younger at the time. Obviously, it was 1990. It's a little while ago. Anyway, we digress. We've come a long way and gone a lot further, and not necessarily in a straight line. Andy Walker.
I
I
was going to
think
say,
the
are you talking about this
story.
conversation or what?
I think the story of those flight paths is somewhat indicative to the narrative within our podcast.
It, yeah, look, it sort of feels like my golf game at the moment as well. But I
Oh,
mean,
do we
we'll
do we
get
want to get there? Do we want to
we'll
get
get
there yet?
we'll get to that point a little bit later in the show. But
Yeah.
yeah, look, I feel it's very indicative of a lot of
Mm,
pilgrimages that we're on at the moment.
mm. So that's the first piece of listener feedback. Andy Walker, 11 minutes into the show. I think we've covered that one quite nicely.
This
Um,
show is just going to be listener feedback. It sounds like.
no, there will be golf
No.
here. There will be
Okay.
golf in
All
this
right.
conversation at some point. So, speaking of golf, the next piece of listener feedback, this is what I would call a new segment, which is whistleblowing.
Right.
Okay. So, it has come to my attention via one of our pilgrims that a prestigious golf club in Sydney
Yep.
is routinely, or has been, maybe not any longer, because part of this was that it's been stopped and a lot of the members are cranky about it, but has been routinely playing significant gimmies during competition rounds.
Ooh,
Mm,
really?
yes.
Wow.
Uh,
That is scandalous.
yes. And when I say significant gimmies, I'm talking not inside the leather, but I'm talking as in that. Do you not know that phrase?
Yeah. I do like inside the grip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So also
it was
known as,
my reaction of how like long that would be, like
oh, but it's
inside
not.
the putter.
Yep, no, two putters, two putters. So you're talking about 7 feet.
I mean, as we've discussed previously, even PGA Tour pros
Missed
are
them.
only what 50 odd percent from 8 feet.
50% from 8 foot.
Wow.
Mm. This is one
Interesting.
of the top echelon of golf clubs in Sydney. So I'm told.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not going to name any names because we really could
No.
do without a libel lawsuit. But
Yes.
um, thoughts on gimmies in competition rounds, Andy Walker?
No
Mm,
is really my only thought and
mm,
word for it. Just no.
mm,
So yeah, no, never, ever. You're in a competition, you putt out.
mm.
Unless it's stable foot and you have a wipe and then you pick up. But
Sure.
certainly, if you're scoring, no,
Mm.
emphatically,
I,
no.
I I totally agree. Now, I have heard of snippets of this type of behavior in certain groups from
Yeah,
time to
right.
time, with certain players in certain different
Mm,
locations. And,
yep.
no, and as we know, we've both seen these sorts of things take place, like people will embark on dubious behavior at times,
Yeah.
such as marking in front of the ball and then
Yeah.
placing the ball in front of the
Look,
marker, which we've
I have
covered.
seen that. Yes.
Agreements within 4 balls to give gimmies,
Mm,
all look totally fine in a social round with your mates, even if you're playing for money with your mates, all those sorts of things. But in a competition, a handicapping round, Andy
yeah.
Walker,
Mm,
um, I personally think unacceptable.
yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah. So anyway, scandal.
Mm,
We're
mm,
not saying, obviously, not saying who it was, not saying which club it was, where it was, somewhere in Sydney. Somewhere that, quite frankly, I would have thought would know better. I'm
mm,
shocked. Shocked.
mm. It was so the actual club knew about it.
So, from secondhand information, which is why no
Yeah.
names and no aspersions are being
Yeah.
cast, it was commonplace at the club until the point that the the match committee, the club president, whoever it might have been, put a stop to it
Mm.
and caused quite a lot of squealing
Yeah,
from
right.
members. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Wow. I'm a little bit shocked, I have to say.
They're out there, Andy Walker. They live among
Mm.
us. They call
Yeah.
themselves golfers,
Yeah,
and they
look,
take
and
gimmies.
yeah, as we mentioned, like I've seen like random, pieces of that sort of behavior, but never sort of what you're talking about, which is a sort of a systematic, this is what
Mm.
we do on a broad level across the club.
Yeah, so shocking. So call them out, Pilgrims. Don't stand for this sort of behaviour. We're here
Mm.
to uphold, not talking about being crazy about, about the way that we approach the game. But I think if you're going to play competitively, and certainly if you're going to embark on tournament play, you've got to abide by the rules of the game.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
They're not that hard. So anyway, that was that piece of feedback. One last piece of feedback that came my way. I don't think this will come as a surprise. It was pretty straight to the point, and it said, "Loved the episode with Josh.
Yep.
What a great guy,
Mm.
so full of wisdom."
Yes, that's a
Um,
fact.
I could not agree more.
Mm.
Um, no gimmies with Josh Nichols.
No, no,
He
no, no mental gimmies with
no,
Josh Nichols.
no soft options with Josh
No.
Nichols. He's a straight up individual, and was just such a great conversation last week. I think, as we mentioned before, so much good knowledge and
Yeah.
information, so much generosity
Mm.
to share it. This is what the guy does for a living, yet he's
Yeah.
happily, throwing out those pearls of wisdom to all of our pilgrims free of charge. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
that was pretty exciting.
And we have had some communication with Josh over the past week, and every single piece of communication engagement has just been so positive, which has been really impressive, I have to say.
Yeah, super guy. Happy to support him any way we can. So I think for everyone out there, if you don't already follow him on X or Twitter, whatever it's called now, I can't get on board with
Yeah,
X.
yeah, I struggle with it, but hey,
It's not
it's
a
Elon,
name.
so
I know.
uh,
Anyway, if you don't follow him, get on there, follow him. You can see his golf swing too, and it's pretty classy.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and
I
plenty
have
plenty of good
actually.
info.
Yeah, I've had a bit of a look at some of his videos on X, and yeah, he has a pretty good swing. You can see why he became sort of number two in the world amateur golf
Yeah,
rankings for the mid amateur, and why he reached the final of the US mid am, because he can stripe it.
yeah, you absolutely can. So quality guy, quality golfer, quality information. I think
Mm.
for me, Andy Walker, three things that really stood out in that chat, and I'm interested in what stood out for you, but it was the importance of acceptance
Yep.
was a big one. It was process versus outcome thinking, was probably the biggest one that stood out.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and then the conversation about how to deal with nerves and versus anxiety on
Yeah.
the golf course. Looking at nerves as a superpower. I love that. I love that phrase.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so for me, they were kind of a few things that really stood out. How about you?
Yeah, look, they're those three things as well. They're certainly pretty big points. The one that also stood out for me, which I'd like to talk to him more about, and it was sort of towards the end where we were talking about his custom practice plan,
Oh yeah.
and that he went about his practice in a systemized way, and
Mm,
that he knew prior to going in and practicing at the start of the week, he would plan out his practice so that it wasn't an emotional reaction. And I think we used the example of me hitting a snap hook on
mm,
13
mm,
of, when I've done that in a comp, the next practice round going, I'm just going to go and beat drivers and try and get that out of my swing. Whereas that's quite an emotional reaction, which may not necessarily deserve that much attention. Whereas if you come back to actually a strategic approach, especially with limited time like we do, then yeah, you're going to end up with much better results. So that to me was a pretty big one. And while I haven't actually gone down the line of engaging him for the custom practice plan, that's one of my things that I'm planning on doing over the next week to 2 weeks.
I think that's a good idea. I like the sound of that. Um, yeah, I think that's quite smart. And sort of look at the way my practice is not planned.
Yes, yes.
I think there's a bit to learn there. And
Mm,
I
mm.
would imagine all of us, so many of us would be, be in the same boat because A, you don't often know how much time you're going to have to practice, and B, how many people out there actually really have got the knowledge to be able to put a plan together that's that
Yeah,
effective. Other than,
yeah,
I'll go to the range and I'll, maybe work on a particular thing. If you're
yeah,
lucky, that's about as, that's kind of about as serious as it gets. But I
yeah.
do
But
like that idea.
yeah,
Interested to see how you go.
I certainly think that someone with his level of expertise and with his knowledge and experience to be able to put together, it's got to be better than what I'm doing at the moment. Which I sort of go,
Yep.
all right, well, I've sort of got a general idea of what I want to do, but it's not really that specific and detailed. So I'm definitely keen to follow that sort of line down and see where it leads.
Mm.
Which, brings me to actually something else that regarding Josh that because I've actually followed him on X,
Mm.
and he did post yesterday, I think it was. There was he put a post up where he'd sort of been away for the weekend and had a golf weekend away. Said he loved it, and actually found a couple of keys throughout the weekend to actually get his swing back to where it was. And he said that he hadn't struck the ball that well for years, and it sort of gave him sort of
Mm.
some motivation and. Sort of said that it was great, and he sort of now wants to get back in and start sort of feels like he wants to go back and start playing competitive golf again. But then he sort of goes on to say that he doesn't actually have any plans in the foreseeable future. And I'm going to start sort of quoting his what he said. He said, "But that's simply not going to happen. I run junior golf tournaments every year as another source of income, and those are about to kick up. I'm going to the Masters, and we're doing some other family trips. None of my future plans for the next 6 months involve competitive golf. So, am I supposed to be sad, like I'm mourning the death of an old friend? Or am I supposed to grow up and move on? Because, in fact, this isn't an old friend who just died. Maybe it's just golf. I've got a family and a business and a house and responsibilities. So, how do I take away from those? So, do I take away from those important things and play more golf regardless? Or do I set aside my little golf desires and do what really demands of me? I don't know the answer.
Well, I think these are the questions that we are
And
seeking the answers
I
to at the moment.
I read this and I felt like I was looking in the mirror.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was just I think that post was just it just gives you so much to reflect on and think about as, you know,
But this is what we've been talking about,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
both on and
Absolutely.
off the show.
So, he's an exact, and we didn't cover sort of this in our
No, but
conversation last week.
I feel we're going to have to get back in contact with Josh and have
Yeah,
this conversation because
yeah,
this is exactly what you and I and everybody else listening who is in our phase of life
yeah,
battles with all the time, which is exactly what prompted us to start the Odyssey,
yeah,
which is trying to find those answers of how can you still, engage in that competitive outlet with all of these other responsibilities that are
yeah,
weighing you down and getting in the way.
yeah, yeah. Agreed, agreed.
Now, as you have a look at the number of rounds that we've put together over recent times, you'll see that we haven't found the answer. But
Mm,
I do think that just by having the attitude of looking for the answers, you start to create some space in your life for it as well
yeah,
because you're putting it as a priority.
yep,
I think
yep.
I think there's a way through this for Josh,
Mm,
and I feel like we can help. Maybe we can repay some of what he gave so freely to us in the last episode by
yeah.
a conversation about this.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Interesting.
Because I mean, we're obviously starting to look at our diaries and plan some events over the
Yeah.
next sort of 6 to 8 months. I mean, we've got the Macquarie Cup coming up at the end of the month, which we'll sort of get into a little bit later in the show. We're looking at a couple of other events later in the year. I think the Monmouth Open was one of those in August, and then there's a couple sort of later in the year. So yeah, I think
Mm.
that again, it probably comes back to that planning and having a systemized approach of putting it in the calendar, crossing everything else off your calendar on those dates, and making sure that it's there and it's blocked away.
I think it's like a lot of things, right? Like if you want to try and achieve something, whatever that might be, like it might be making a change in your life that might be to do with getting fit or, doing something else, or it might be to do with, it could be anything, like it could be learning a musical instrument. I don't know, like whatever it is that you want to do.
Yep.
You can't just wait for the opportunities to present themselves
No.
or the time to present
Mm.
itself,
Yep.
because that's not going to happen. I think what you have to do is you have to make the decision that you want to do it, and you've got to say it out loud, and you've got to tell the people close to you that you want to do it,
Mm.
because that's actually going to help it to happen,
You know what you
and
could
enable
do?
you to do that.
You could actually create a podcast and actually start broadcasting what you want to do.
So that's an extreme way of handling the situation. Um, it is, but it's achieving the same thing,
Yeah,
and what
it's
that's done,
accountability.
hundred
That's what we
percent,
come back to. It's that
100%.
accountability.
100%. Whereas if we had continued what we had been doing for the last 3 or 4 years, which was constantly having a conversation with each other, going, "Oh, I probably wouldn't mind, you know, having a bit more of a crack at golf and taking it a bit more
Mm.
seriously." Oh, okay, no
Yep.
worries. Yeah, it's a bit tough at the moment though, because like work and family and
Yep.
various things, the time's kind of not
Yep.
right. Like let's, it might be better in a few years' time. A few years' time just rolls on by, and
Yeah.
those pressures don't go away.
Yep.
And this is the thing. I think this has been our life moment where we've gone. That age of 50 has been the road sign, on the path where
Mm.
we've kind of had to go. Well, it's now or never. We're going to actually
Yeah.
do this, or we're not going to do this. And it's given us that push
Mm.
to go and do it.
For sure. For
And I think
sure. I
that's where
agree.
Josh is at the moment. He's got those feelings, but he doesn't have that moment, that push. He's got more time than we do too. He's a bit younger.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a bit younger than us.
Yeah. So
A
maybe we can impart some wisdom,
couple of
Andy Walker.
decades.
Yeah, some wisdom. Yeah, but that's huge. That's really
Mm.
that is huge. There's a lot in that, and I think we all battle with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have the answers. We're just
No.
merely searching for the
Well,
missing links.
well, apparently Josh doesn't either.
No, we might have been asking that question a little bit longer though.
Maybe, maybe.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome.
Mm.
Okay, well let's reach out to him and see if we can help.
Well, he did say that he was more than happy to do a part two because we didn't get through all of our list. In fact, we only got through about half of our list of
Yeah,
items that we were going to discuss. So he did say, yeah, let's do a part two. So let's get him back on and uh, really sort of dive into some of this stuff. Because yeah, I felt a really good connection with him. Like it was really positive last week, but now I just read that and went, wow, like our paths really do align in a lot of ways.
yeah, yeah. It really does. Okay, that's cool. So, back to our pilgrimage, Andy Walker.
Yes.
And we are on this journey,
Mm.
odyssey, adventure, path,
Campaign.
campaign,
Yeah.
quest.
Adventure.
Yes,
Migration.
migration, kind of.
Passage.
We're on a passage. Oh, that could
Trek.
go in so many different directions. You've got the thesaurus out now.
That's exactly what I've done. I've got the thesaurus out and I just have a plethora of,
Nice,
yeah,
nice, excellent word, plethora.
yeah,
Yes, you
yeah,
got a plethora of journey related
yeah,
words.
yeah, yeah. Voyage,
Voyage. Yeah, I don't know that it's a
wayfaring.
voyage.
What are your thoughts of wayfaring?
Well, this was one of the ones that was thrown up by
Oh,
our
was it?
friend of the show. Yeah,
Okay.
it was Wayfaring Odyssey, I think was the word
Yeah,
that he'd put together.
yeah.
Um,
Because
yeah,
it was Sojourn that was also
Ocean. Yeah. Ooh,
so
nice.
Sojourn I think was there. Jaunt I think Jaunt was mentioned.
Jaunt
Was
was, yeah,
Jaunt?
yeah, definitely Jaunt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What about junket? What are your thoughts on a junket?
I love a junket. I'm all for them. More the better. But
Yeah.
I don't know that what we're doing really is a junket. I think we're a bit more serious than a
I,
junket.
I think there may be a few junkets along the way.
Yeah, yeah. Mm. Definitely some adventures.
Yeah, lots.
Oh, wow. Speaking of adventures, I want to talk about February, the month that was. We need a recap.
Yes, yes, we do.
Um, a couple of things about February. Um, we each only had one competition
Mm.
round in the month of February.
Yep.
Um, that's pretty ordinary. What do you think?
Look, I mean, and what I said right at the beginning regarding my business structure and my work
Mm,
structure is that I do have a quiet month. I do have a really, really busy month, and I've got one that's in between. Now, February was my really, really busy month, so I think I've got a bit of an excuse. Um, whereas March is not one of my busier months. And I actually had this week I'd planned to play in the comp, but then they called the greens. So I don't really want to play in the comp
no.
just after they called the greens.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is next week and the week after, I'm going to have 2 weeks in a row where I'm going to play in the comp in preparation for the Macquarie Cup at the end of the month. So I'll have
Yes.
4 competition rounds
In
before March has finished.
Yes. So there's a few topics for us to talk about, and they each overlap. One of which is the Macquarie Cup. Obviously, we're recapping February to begin with, and then the last one, or the next one, is the Missing Links Golf Show leaderboard, one on one, our mano on mano
Yes.
competition for the
Mm,
year, um, which kind of all links because the number of rounds you're getting in March is certainly going to give you an opportunity to post a number.
mm.
Um, but in terms of before we move on to that, in terms of February, so your one round in February, your your handicap came down slightly by point one, I believe.
Yes. Yes, point one. Yeah,
Point one. 4.7 to 4.6.
correct.
My one round in February, my handicap came down by point 0.2, 9.2 to 9.0.
Mm.
Um, that's good.
Yeah.
It's about the same, really, around the four and a
Well, is
half
it?
versus nine.
Is it the
What's the
same?
percentage? As a percentage, it's actually the same. So yes, it is.
So then what's the leaderboard then for February? Give
Well,
me the
that's that's
stats.
that's that's a different question altogether that
Mm.
you're asking because that's about gross differential for the round. So we might we'll jump to that. Let's jump to that, and then we'll come back to the build up for the Macquarie Cup. So the Missing Links Golf Show leaderboard, what we are affectionately referring to as the yearly championship. You might say, why the yearly championship? Well, the answer to that is because here's a trophy that I prepared earlier, actually about 15 years
Yeah, I was
earlier,
going to say
probably.
how many years ago was it?
Yeah, you might be able to see that if you're looking at the
Mm.
video, but it's the Missing Links yearly championship trophy. We thought we might resurrect it for the
Yeah.
show, become the Missing Links Golf Show yearly championship. So the go is, and bear with me on this, slightly complex, but we'll try and explain it clearly. So it's the best round of the month. Each of us, our individual best round of the month, measured as follows: your gross differential, so in other words, your handicapping score for the round, the difference between that and your handicap index that you're playing with that round
Yep.
as a percentage,
Mm.
not as an absolute, because we need it to be a percentage because obviously
Yes.
my handicap is a little bit higher than yours.
Yep.
So what that means is in the month of let's start with January actually, because January is when it started. We went back to the start of
Yes.
the
Yeah, we
calendar
did.
year.
We did.
So let's go with January. And I've got the leaderboard here. Now in January, Andy Walker, you played one round.
Yes.
And in your one round, you had a gross differential of 8.9 against a handicap index of 4.7,
Mm.
which is a difference of 4.2. And that equates to minus 89%.
Yeah. It's a quality score.
It's not, it's probably not going to be enough.
No, I wouldn't have thought
Um,
so. No, knowing your performance in January.
so I had 4 rounds in January.
Mm.
My best round, which is the one that counts, had a gross differential of 8.2 against a handicap index on the day of 9.9, which was a positive differential of 1.7 and therefore a differential percentage of 17%. It's worth noting that my other three rounds were minus 19%, minus 66%, minus 39%. So they all beat your round that month.
Yeah. So your worst round beat my only round.
Only round.
Mm,
Or best round, we can call it.
yeah. Or worst round.
Yes. But only one round counts, so it doesn't really matter.
Mm.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I take the 3 points for January because you get 3 points for the win,
Mm.
1 point for a tie, 0 points for a loss, and minus 1 point for failing to register a round in the month. So 3 points. So I'm up 3 points in January. In February,
Well,
we both
I
registered.
feel well and truly hosed from
Yeah,
January.
yeah, you were, you were,
Mm.
you were. In February, we both played one round, one competition round. Andy Walker, gross differential of 4.9 against a handicap index of 4.7 for the day, which is minus zero point 0.2.
Yep.
Net differential, which is a percentage of minus 4%. That's close.
Mm.
My only round, also known as my best round, also known as my worst
Your
round.
worst round.
Gross differential of 11.1 against a handicap index of 9.2, which is minus 1.9, which is on a percentage minus 21%, which means
Yes, baby.
February goes to Andy Walker.
Mm. Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So
Disappointing.
it's even Stevens after 2 months.
Well, I'm glad you raised that because there is a
Hang on a tick.
bonus. There is a bonus point, 4 bonus points up for
I
grabs.
I don't recall talking about a bonus point in our last committee meeting.
I think you'll like it. So the provisional rule is that there is 4 bonus points up for grabs,
Yep.
not 4 individual bonus points, just one allocation of 4 bonus points, a bit like hitting a
Mm.
boundary, Andy
Yep.
Walker.
Yep.
And the way that you get those 4 bonus points is by registering the best round of the year.
Ooh. Okay. So that means I've got to register at this stage more than 17%.
Yep.
Okay, that's pressure.
I'm going to put it out there right now. 17% will not win the bonus points.
Right. Okay. Yep.
All right. There will be a better round of golf this year. In fact, I'm gonna say this: 17% will not be my best, and it will not be your best.
Okay.
We will both beat it
Mm. I'm gonna have to go
throughout
back
the year.
over my rounds for the last 12 months and just try and work that out to see what my best was over the last 12 months to see if I have any hope at all of getting close to that.
I mean, we could retrospectively do last year's yearly championship, but I
No,
think you're going to have a lot of minus ones on there because there was
no.
plenty of months that you didn't get around in. Um, but I think this is an excellent competition. So thank you very much to whichever one of our pilgrims it was that suggested that we needed a competitive edge on the
Mm,
Missing Links Golf Show. We've got it now. It is the yearly championship, currently locked head to head at 3 points apiece,
nice,
2 months in.
nice. I like it.
March is going to be interesting. Andy Walker, you're playing a lot of golf in March.
Yeah, but am I playing good golf in mid-March? That's the question.
You might be playing a lot of rounds, and within each round, you might be playing a lot of golf.
Yes, that's sort of how it feels at the moment.
Oh, do you want to go there? Is that what you want to talk about
Well,
now? I think
I
I
mean,
think it's probably not a bad place to go.
yeah, look, I'm struggling at the moment. I have to admit I'm trying to implement these swing changes that we've been talking about now for the last few months. And look, we had a brief chat about it before we jumped on air, and I did make the comment that I think that you've got quite a big advantage in this area because my poor swing habits, my bad habits have been grooved in over thousands and thousands of golf balls, a number of years ago, a number of decades ago now. but
Mm,
they're still there. And I am really struggling to get out of those bad habits. So, A, making a big full shoulder turn rather than lifting.
mm,
B, quietening my hips down rather than sort of collapsing my left side. And I feel as though when I focus on one, the other one just goes out the window. And then I
of
focus on that
course.
one, and then the other one goes out the window. So yeah, I'm really struggling with it. And I went out on Saturday and played 9 holes. Just hit it so badly. Like it was just appallingly bad. I stood on the first tee and I actually hit it all right in the practice net, as you do,
Mm,
when I was warming up, and I stood on the first tee and I reckon I hit my driver, I don't know, 60 meters wide. And it went
mm.
right. It wasn't my hook, it went right. It was such a long way right. It was, yeah. And I just looked at it and went, yeah, no, not going to get that back. And went to the bag and pulled out another ball.
I was going to
Um,
say, because your home course, you can't spray it around like that.
no, no, you cannot.
Yeah,
Even if you hit it in some areas, sort of 10 to 15 meters,
you did.
you're
Yeah,
dead. Yeah, yeah. So it's a bit of a tough track, and it's a tough driving track. Because
yeah,
there is a lot of trouble off the
yeah.
tee, so you've got to drive it well. So I'm struggling a little bit. So I feel as though my swing changes are I'm just going to have to be patient, and it's a
It's
long-term
not your strength,
proposition. What's not my strength? My
patience.
swing. Oh, you're not wrong there. You're not wrong there. Yeah, I've never been accused of having a lot of patience.
Yeah.
But I feel as though this could be the golfing gods just testing me, going, Andy, you need to learn this stuff.
Well, you do.
So I'm sort
Fair
of
point.
thinking that a fair bit of my practice, well, not a fair bit, but a reasonable percentage of my practice needs to be devoted to short game, just so I can put some decent scores on the board. Sort of like what I did in February. I mean, I did say
Yeah.
I hit it really poorly, and it was my inside 100 meters that really
Yeah.
saved me. So I think this is probably going to be the theme of what I'm going to be dealing with and having to go out in the golf course with for the next, maybe 3, 4, 5 months. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a long time, I think, to be able to undo
Mm,
the years and thousands of practice balls that I've hit with this current bad technique.
mm. That is a bombshell,
Yeah. Yeah.
an absolute bombshell. We are now, what are we, 3 or 4 weeks away from our first major head-to-head tournament for
Mm,
the year, the Macquarie Cup,
yep.
which is being played on the Easter weekend. And in this period of time, you are having a crisis of confidence with your golf swing.
Yeah.
This is problematic to say the
Mm,
least.
mm. At least I feel as though heading out to the Macquarie Cup and playing Dubbo, it's not as deadly. You don't there is sort of some room for error in that there's not as much trouble as what there is on my home course. So I sort of felt sort of similar with Mudgee in that I I still hit a lot of hooks in Mudgee,
Mm,
but I was able to go and find my ball, right? Which
mm,
we sort of
mm,
similar
mm,
at Dubbo in that
mm.
I'll be able to, majority of the time, not always, there is still enough trouble at Dubbo, but I feel as though I'll be able to go and find my ball.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Like generally speaking, you'll be, say in a tree line rather than in a hazard.
Yeah.
There's only a few holes where the hazard will come into play for that. So it might cost you a shot rather than two shots. And you
Yes.
never know. Every now and then you can get lucky and bounce back out. But
Mm,
um, yeah, I think though the concern is not that long ago, we were both sitting here saying that confidence levels were the highest that they'd ever been.
mm,
And you've just come crashing down to earth.
mm. Yep.
mentally.
Yeah. Well, it's not mentally. I don't feel like I've crashed mentally. I just I feel like my golf swing is it's going to be up and down. And don't get me wrong, I think there's going to be times where I go out and probably hit it quite well. But I also think that it's going to take a lot more time than what I initially thought. I thought maybe I could, with the addition of the high performance setter, I'd be able to get out there and in the garage and be able to groove these swing changes, not
Yeah.
relatively quickly, but certainly within a couple of months. Not, but now it seems as though it's going to be a longer term goal, a longer term sort of pilgrimage than what I initially thought.
Oh, see, my worry, we talked about this a little bit the other day. Are we starting to go down the path of playing golf swing rather than playing golf? Now, I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't be embarking on these changes
Mm,
because obviously they're being recommended by professionals, so who knows a lot more about the golf swing than what I do. But
yes,
at the
yes.
same time, I know I have been guilty of doing a lot of video work in the high performance center,
Mm,
almost obsessively,
yep.
and trying to tweak and change and get a different feel, adjust the swing
Would,
plane and all those
would
sorts
you
of
would you have been
things
using the previously mentioned app for those swing changes?
from time to time.
See, this is where I feel as though there's a fair differential between you and I, is that I'm seeking professional help.
I think I need professional help and not necessarily for the golf swing. it's
So yeah, this is where I feel as though like there's a gap between what you're doing and what I'm doing because I'm not. Yes, I have used the AI app, but it's not anything serious. I'm not using that to actually make swing changes. The
No, I'm
swing
not necessarily.
changes that
I'm not doing that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not doing that. I am attempting to address the things that Scotty has provided to me as feedback.
mm,
Um, to be honest, I feel like it's two steps forward, one step back, or
yep,
three steps back at times.
yep,
With that sort of thing. But what I have been guilty of is then going, oh, that I feel like that's good, like that, that's kind
mm,
of clicking, and certainly the strike is so much better. And look at the video because I'm trying to have a look at am I doing the things that he's talking about, and look at the video and go, yeah, that looks good. I'll just out of interest plug it into the app and see what the app says, and it goes 4.3 out of 10,
yeah,
and you're doing
yeah,
this, and this wrong.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're really deflated now.
And that leads to brain explosion. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm all for taking video of yourself. Go and see a professional coach, get some professional help, and let them lead you down any swing changes that you need to make.
Mm.
And then I'm all for just straight video. And maybe I know there's a couple of apps out there that also allow you to put lines and the like on the video. And yeah, I'm all for that if that is part of some of the adjustments that you need to make. But actually going down the line, and this is where I have the issue with the app, going down the line of actually videoing your swing through the app and letting it tell you what swing changes you need to make. I just struggle with that.
Problem is the gamification element that it brings to it,
Mm,
because you put a swing down and then you can get a score, and then you
yeah.
start chasing the score rather than actually doing
Mm,
something constructive. So I do
yeah.
need to back away from the AI app. It's probably not doing me any favors. But at the same time, I'm trying to let go a bit of am I getting in the right shapes and am I doing, these technical moves and that sort of stuff right, and focusing on am I flushing it?
Mm,
And you can feel the difference when
yeah.
you're really hitting it well into the net. And
Mm.
I feel like my ball striking quality now versus what it was say 2 months ago is head, shoulders, and torso
Mm.
above where it was.
It's interesting because I've also found using just a net. and not actually being able to see the ball and the ball flight,
Yeah.
my awareness of what I'm doing in my golf swing is has just gone to another level. And I swing it and I know where the ball's going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas I'm very visual, as a lot of people are. And yeah, I see the end result, whether it be on the practice fair or the golf course, and that's the end result. I haven't really felt too much I've got a bit of an idea, but I don't have that, you know, intimate feeling of what's happened through my golf swing. Whereas now I feel as though I know my golf swing a lot more over the last sort of couple of months of not being able to see the ball flight, which is a pretty interesting, and
Counterintuitive to a degree, but I get
yeah.
what you mean. Um, I think to that point, one thing that I will start to do, and I need to start to do, is to stop doing the videoing and
Mm.
AI assessing of the swings. But I might get out the old launch monitor once again, connect to the iPad. So
Yes.
then I've got the feel of the swing and the launch numbers to back that up, and like
And that to me
ball
is
flight
such a
and those
better
sorts of things.
engagement,
Much better, I
such
think.
yeah, much better engagement than trying to do it through an AI app.
Yeah. So I think maybe that's the path forward, because then I'll be able to see actually is what I'm doing, adding distance, adding accuracy, changing ball flight, etc.
Mm.
Swing path. It's all measured. Maybe that's the go.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's good.
look, I sort of feel as though, yeah, there's a number of things that I'm looking at in my swing. Continuing, just about to see sort of my coach again, which I haven't seen Joe since November. Whereas I've got a coaching session this week, so I'm really looking forward to getting back and having a really good conversation
Mm.
with her. Um, I've made a couple of changes to my grip.
Ooh.
Quite interestingly, I've always used the interlocking grip. But after
Mm.
reading one of Ben Hogan's chapters, his 5 lessons on the grip, I've actually changed over to an overlapping grip, which
Mm.
I'm finding to be really, really good. I mean, I've always, and I think sort of growing up, Jack Nicklaus used the interlocking grip, and I wanted to be like Jack Nicklaus. So I used the interlocking
Yeah, went
grip.
down that path. Tiger
Yeah.
Woods also.
So same as hitting a fade. Why I wanted to hit a fade because Jack Nicklaus hit a fade.
Mm.
Now, having come back and you know looking at golf from a different perspective and just trying to improve myself and not having any uh, anything to sort of compare myself to as such, and just trying to improve for the sake of improvement.
Mm.
This and I must admit I'm really enjoying the Hogan book. I haven't read all of it. I'm still probably maybe halfway through it, but the grip and his viewpoint on the grip, in that you've got your left hand, which is the top of the grip sits under that palm bit of the top of your hand, and then in your right hand it's all about the fingers, and it's more of a finger grip with your right hand rather than being in the palm of your hand.
Mm.
I'm finding it really, really, really good. It's a little bit of I'm finding that I've got a bit more control. I'm feeling as though, I mean, I've always been left hand dominant with my swing, and it's just feeling the left hand's just feeling a lot stronger, and like I've got a lot more control with it.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a bit more
I
stable.
I totally agree. I made that change maybe 18 months ago.
Yeah. And I
Um,
remember us talking about it, me just going, nah, never going to change.
what was interesting, I went through a period of time where I was using three different grips in a round, in a
Wow.
hole, actually in a
Wow.
hole, in each
Okay.
hole,
Yep.
because historically I'd been interlocking grip, same as you, for all the same reasons, but it was probably more to do with Tiger Woods than it was Jack Nicklaus, coming to the game a little bit later. So interlocking grip. Um, and then I thought, no, I want to muck around with the overlapping grip. Um, but I didn't do that with my driver. I kept the interlocking grip with my driver.
Wow. Okay.
just because it was freaking me out to change everything all at once.
Yep.
So I kept the interlocking grip with the driver. I think I tried the overlapping grip once and hit it poorly. So I went, oh, I don't want to make that change. So
Mm,
I stayed with the
mm.
interlocking grip for driver. Now, full disclosure, that hitting it poorly had nothing to do with the grip at that point in time. I think actually at that time I was probably playing off about 16 or 17 anyway.
Yep.
Then overlapping grip for irons, and then I was putting to try and get it feeling more like I was rolling the ball,
Mm.
underarm with the bottom hand. I was using a baseball grip with the putter, a full 10
Wow.
finger grip on the putter.
Okay.
Don't do it. If you think about it, don't do it. It's
Mm.
not a good grip.
No.
Um, that lasted for a little while, and then things slowly changed. Then the driver ended up going to overlapping grip, and I agree. I
Mm.
think you get so much more top hand control because with interlocking grip, your index finger is coming off of your top hand is coming off
Yes.
the handle.
Yep.
That's got to be one of the most important fingers in the golf grip, I would have thought. Um, so to take that off the handle, it's a bit strange, but a lot of people do it. So anyway,
Mm.
I made that
Mm.
change and then ended up with the putter going to the reverse overlap. So instead of the
Yep.
bottom hand pinky overlapping onto the top hand, it was the other way around, where the bottom hand is fully on the grip and the index finger of the top hand overlaps the pinky.
Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah, and that I think I'm done now with grip changes. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Tried
Yeah. Fair
everyone,
enough.
tried everyone out there.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, look, it's been an interesting journey, and yeah, as I said, I think that there's a lot to be learned from what Ben Hogan is saying and what he does. I mean, yeah, I think I said a couple of weeks back that he was well ahead of his time.
Mm,
So yeah, I don't think there's sort of too much harm in mimicking some of the things that he did in his golf swing.
mm. You also pointed out when we were talking previously that he, along with Lee Trevino, was it, that was talking about pushing the hands forward in the stance to be more in line with the impact position
Oh
at
no, Jack
address.
Nicholas.
Yeah,
I
but the original video wasn't that Lee
oh, the original
Trevino?
video, yes, was Lee Trevino. Yes, for
Yeah,
sure. Yep.
I've been mucking around with that since that. I actually really like that, and I
Yeah.
didn't realize it, but I kind of naturally drift towards that anyway,
Yeah.
getting
Well,
closer to
if
impact
you
position
have a
at
look at
address.
if you have a look at a lot of the PGA Tour pros, they are it is basically from their lead shoulder all the way down to the club head. It's basically one
Pretty
line.
straight. Yeah,
So they're looking to be at address at their impact position.
yeah.
So that they're not having to manipulate their hands through their golf swing to get in a different position to what they were at address. And that was the point that Lee Trevino was making in that video, is that he was saying he had his hands behind the ball a little bit and said, why would you start here? This is where a lot of amateurs start. And then he pushed his hands forward and said, this is where you are at impact. And he showed,
Mm,
at impact, this is where you are. Why wouldn't you
mm.
start there? And logically, it makes so much sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
Yeah. So an hour in, we've got to a couple of decent tips. Um,
Yep.
nice work. Nice
Yep.
work. Thanks
Yep.
for hanging in there, Pilgrims.
Yeah. So
Um,
so look, there's for the rest of the month, just to wrap up sort of where I'm at. So yeah, my main thing is working on short game, while my swing is where it is. Still working on the stack, working on my fitness. I've actually lost a couple of kilos, which I'm
nice.
pretty happy about. And then stretching, I'm going to start focusing on stretching and getting some flexibility in my back and my hips, which is where I think some of the issues are with making a full shoulder turn and restricting my hip movement. So
Mm,
they're my main keys throughout the next month.
yes, they are good. The hips don't
Mm,
lie.
no, they don't.
Um, yeah. No, very
So
good.
what about yourself, Mr. Hinks? Do you plan on playing in many comp rounds?
So I'm I'm taking a different approach this month. Um,
Here we go.
I'm taking a different approach. So I will be playing around this weekend. On Sunday.
Yep.
not on Saturday. Can't really play both days of the weekend. It's
No.
not conducive to good family time. So I'll be playing Sunday this weekend. I'm actually going to play in the Pro-Am for the New South Wales Women's Open
Oh
regional
yeah.
qualifier. It's being
Nice.
held out this way in the Central West. Um, so I think that will be good, and that will actually give a bit of exposure to some high quality golfers.
Yeah.
Hoping to
Nice.
learn a thing or two from whoever we get matched up with in that round. So that'll be good. My other focus for the month then is going to be on a few midweek 9-hole tune-up rounds.
Mm.
Because what I'm actually doing, I'm really taking to heart the advice from Dave McClellan's that we got back in episode 4,
Yep.
when he recommended a very heavy taper before a major
Yes.
tournament.
Yes,
So
you did.
I'm tapering from now.
Mm. For a month.
Yep,
Good one. Good one.
yep, yep. That's what I'm doing.
So is there any particular reason why you're not decided not to play really? Because the Pro-Am isn't a comp round, is it?
No, it's not. It's Texas Scramble, so won't be
Yeah.
putting in an individual card for that one.
No. So
Yeah.
any particular reason why you're not playing an actual comp round until the Macquarie Cup?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. So
L-
are you a
Yeah.
gambling man, Andy Walker?
No, not a monetary gambling man.
Yeah, see.
I think that I've taken a few gambles on a golf course and maybe in other areas of my life, but certainly not, yeah, not a monetary gambling man.
Yeah, I'm not a gambler either. It's fine. If that's your thing. No judgment. I'm not. And in this particular situation, that's kind of what it comes down to, because sitting on 9.0, qualification into the Macquarie Cup being single digits,
Mm.
I've got a flag round dropping out next round. So let's just say if I don't play a comp round between now and then, I qualify. If I do play a comp round and I play well, obviously I still qualify. If I do play a comp round and I don't play well, I run the very real risk of not qualifying for the tournament. Is one comp round, because I won't have the time to get two in, is one comp round worth the risk of not qualifying for the tournament?
I don't know. I mean, that's a question that only you can answer when you're looking in the mirror and whether you want to actually have some positivity and have a sort of proactive, go mentality or whether you want to, shirk into the corner and hide from, the
All
realities of
depends. All depends on how you look at it. You can attempt to goad me into non-qualification,
Mm.
or I can save my brilliance for round one of the Macquarie Cup.
Mm.
And I think that's the sensible play at
Mm.
this point in time.
Yeah. I mean, it is ultra conservative.
Yep, it is. I'm just aiming at the middle of the green. John
Mm.
Sherman-esque. He'd be very proud,
Mm.
from Four Foundations of Golf. So I think that's the go.
Mm.
Yep.
Mm.
Bird in the hand, two in the bush. Actually, the bird in the hand, probably look for a place to release it, because that's where it should go to. And then three in
Yeah.
the bush, none in the hand would actually be a better option.
Mm.
But that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I think I will I will focus on preparation for the tournament rather than risking my qualification. Andy Walker,
Mm.
I think that's the smart play.
Yeah. Look, I just think it's very negative.
I know you do.
That's that's all I can say.
I know you do. This is coming from the guy that's played 2 comp rounds this calendar year.
Mm. Yeah, that's all my busy schedule has allowed me to do. But
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
at least I'm having a crack. Like,
This
you know.
month, yeah. Don't worry about the other two leading up to it. But that's fine. And look, time will tell whether or not this has been a smart decision, because I may well go out in round one of the Macquarie Cup, shoot lights out, drop the handicap even further, and it would have been nothing to worry about. And
Well,
let's be honest,
let,
that's
let, that
highly likely.
that's assuming that what you shoot in the Macquarie Cup is the equivalent of what you would have shot in a comp round between now and then.
Well, this is the thing. There's many variables, Andy Walker.
There are.
Many variables,
Mm.
and why risk it? So
Look,
that's
and I actually disagree because I don't think that's highly likely because it just seems that you've lost the ability to back yourself.
Oh no, I think you're reading it wrong. I think you're reading it completely wrong.
No.
Um, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you will see. I am not going through the crisis of confidence that you seem to be going through. Merely making a sensible course
Mm,
management style decision on the build up, and heavily influenced by the great David McClelland, who really reinforced the point about taper.
mm.
I believe his
I'm
words were taper, taper, taper.
three times, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah, see, I'm not convinced that he was talking about tapering over a month.
I think he was.
And I certainly don't think he was talking about, being negative and, not backing yourself. In
I think this
fact,
is this is a lens you're putting on it. This is not what it's about. This is about grasping the opportunity that's in front, and not recklessly risking that. Like I don't see this as negative at all. I think this is
mm,
very positive,
mm. Well, I mean,
extremely, extremely positive.
you can have your perspective and, you know, we'll see where that gets you.
Into the Macquarie Cup is where it will get me.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It sort of it seems very much as though you know how you get these guys that like they pull up because they don't want to affect their handicap. They get to sort of
No, it's
13,
the other way around.
14,
It's the other way around.
and all of a sudden they're having a good round and they're like, oh no, I need to protect my handicap, and they
It's
they
completely the other way around to that.
uh,
It's
that's what
if I
it
was
seems to
trying to
me.
blow out the handicap, then I'd be playing. I'd absolutely
Mm,
be playing, and I'd be tanking the round, knowing that I've got a flag round coming out. So this is it's 100% the opposite of what you're talking
mm,
about, Andy
yeah.
Walker. You're on shaky ground on this one. You're not correct at all.
No, I'd like to see what our pilgrims think of this, and maybe I think maybe a Twitter poll. What an X poll? It's not a Twitter
The next
poll.
poll, yeah.
An X, formerly known as Twitter poll.
Look, ask the question. I'm open to feedback, but it's not going to change my preparation for the Macquarie Cup.
There you
And
go.
history,
Is that called obstinate?
it probably is. I mean, I think we've established through the course of the show that I do, sort of have a bit of a stubborn streak when it comes
Mm,
to following instruction given by someone
mm,
else,
yeah.
i.e., authority. Um, so yeah, could be obstinate. Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
Mm, mm. So anyway, it's coming up, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the month. It is exciting. It's our first genuine tournament to
It
get
is.
stuck into. Uh, Obviously the Missing Links Masters was a lot of fun, but as has been rightly pointed out, it was about six people. This will
Yes.
be a full field. There'll
Yeah.
be nowhere to hide. Tournament
No.
conditions, long
Stroke
rough,
round.
fast greens,
Yeah.
stroke play, everything on the line.
Yep.
Can't wait. It's going to be fun.
Mm.
Two
It's going to
days
be a
as
lot of fun.
well, backing
Yeah.
up Saturday and Sunday.
Mm.
Be a lot of fun. There's got to be
Yeah.
there's got to be something on the line for just the head-to-head contest. I think on this one as well. We've got to think about that.
Mm. All right. Let's give it some thought. If anyone's got
Mm.
any ideas, maybe sort of post it
Let
in
us know.
in the feedback, and yeah, let us know what you think.
Let us know. Now, Andy Walker, there is only one other thing that I wanted to cover this evening
Yes.
before we rock out to a bit of Alex Grohl. And that is the segment that we all love, which is the Missing Links Golf Show Player of the Week. Former winner, Ted
Mm.
Walker.
Mm.
He's even par round a few episodes ago.
Inaugural winner.
I haven't done it every episode because
No.
we've had guests and various things, but I think we've got a contender for this week for Missing Links Golf Show Player of the Week.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to nominate that it goes to Aussie pro golfer Hannah Green
Mm.
for her victory in Singapore, in particular, birdieing 16, 17,
Mm.
and 18 to win by a shot.
Yeah, and while I didn't actually watch it, I did watch a couple of highlights, and that putt on the last, that was I don't know,
Unbelievable.
Yeah, like that was a snake. Like that was across the green and had to have been what, 30, 35, maybe even longer feet.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Mm.
So she played out of her skin on the closing holes, and
Even her playing partner was cheering.
yes,
Like,
I know,
yeah,
so good.
yeah.
Um, I don't know what the opposite of a diamond is. Um,
Yeah.
maybe it's a Hannah or a green.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it could be a
but
green. I like a green.
yeah, maybe it's a
Mm.
green. Yeah, pulled a green over the
Mm.
closing holes. Great effort, super effort.
Yeah.
Really, really happy to see that happen. And yeah, congratulations, Hannah Green, on behalf of
Yeah.
the
Well
Missing Links
done.
Golf Show.
Mm.
Player of the week. We'll maybe throw something out in a tweet on X, congratulating
Yeah.
her for winning the Player of the Week award. I'm sure she'll be thrilled.
Mm. It'll be the highlight of a week, I'm sure.
I think so. I think
Do you
so.
think she could maybe come on the show and we could like, present her with an award or something?
If there's one thing that we've learned, is that it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yes, we've gone about this pilgrimage in that
Yeah,
mindset of if you don't ask,
you don't get.
you're not going to get.
So yeah, sure. We'll throw that out. Congratulations, Hannah, winner of Missing Links Golf Show Player of the Week.
Mm.
Um, here's your invite to come on the show.
Yeah,
Stay
cool.
tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Could be next episode.
How good would that be? Would love to chat to Hannah Green. I actually watched her play in the Aussie Open when I went to watch that at the Australian, and yeah, she smokes it. Like she has a great swing, and yeah,
Oh,
very
quality
very
golfer.
solid.
Seems like a good person as well. So we wish her the
Yeah,
best.
yeah, seems lovely.
Yeah. So that's excellent. And Andy Walker, I think that's about it. Is there anything else that
Mm.
you would like to share before we wrap up for the evening?
No. That covers pretty much all. I mean, we've been going a little while. I'm gone down a couple of tangents,
Oh,
but
that's
yeah,
okay.
no, I think it's been a great chat, and yeah, looking forward to the next month.
As am I. As am I. As we always say, thank you very much for listening. You can join the conversation in a bit more depth if you want to connect via our social channels. Of course, we've got the Missing Links Golf Show on Facebook. We are, I think it's Missing Links Golf on Instagram. We are now also on X,
X,
or
formerly known as Twitter.
yeah, the platform formerly known as Twitter. You will
Mm.
find us there at TML Golf Show. TML stands for the Missing Links, Andy Walker, in case you were curious.
Yeah, hadn't worked that out, but thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying. Mm.
So you'll find us there. Probably just type our name into the whole search bar and we'll come up. I don't think there's
Mm.
too many other Missing Links golf shows
No,
floating around. If
I
there are, we're
wouldn't.
going to sue them anyway. Um, and yeah, jump on, follow, make some comments, check it out, leave a review
Mm.
if you get the chance. Jump on whatever your podcasting platform of choice is. Leave a review, maybe the bit that you enjoyed the most about the show, your opinion of Andy Walker's psychological crisis, your support for my strategy leading into the Macquarie Cup, any of those sorts of things would, I have no doubt, be welcomed by both of us.
Mm. Yes, yes.
Andy Walker, have a fantastic week.
Rock out, Pilgrims.
Rock out, Pilgrims. Where did that come from?
I have no idea.
That is the call of the show. Like, and not the episode, the show.
Oh man.